r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. People who found out about someone else's double life. What's the story? Retired lawyer here. I once represented a widow who was seeking survivor's benefits from her husband's military pension. Turns out the old goat was a trigamist who somehow managed to juggle 3 families without any of them learning about the other 2, although there were enough unexplained absences and such that none of the 3 were terribly surprised. Around year 8 of my marriage, I met my then husband's girlfriend of 9 months. He told me he was working doubles on his night off, night shift worker, but he was bunking at her place those nights and crawling out of her bed at 5 AM to come home from work. I was packing him lunches for his fucking sleepovers with her. Once she and I knew about each other, we swapped photos and stories. Her apartment was full of photos of them together. She even had him on her insurance plan. She had zero clue he was married, thought they were endgame, the whole thing. Once I filed for divorce, I let her know he was all hers and apparently they stayed together for about 2 months. Then he cheated on her with the next one. My office hired a new admin receptionist. He seemed nice and normal in the interview, but then stopped showing up to work, always leaving voicemails with more and more elaborate and dramatic excuses about why he was out. For example, he was in a car accident and in the hospital fighting for his life. Pray for me. Turns out he had accepted multiple other jobs and wasn't showing up to any of them either. But he was getting paid by all of them. We had neighbors who lived directly next door that we became great friends with. We had children together and almost an open door policy of wandering into each other's homes. They were both really great people. His parents were great people who lived nearby. He seemed to be a good person raised by good people. Their daughter was 2 and our son was 3. We had fun together and pretty honest conversations about life. Or so we thought. Then, one night, the 4 of us are sitting on their back porch like we always do. Around midnight, the husband tells us they have some news to tell us. Wife looked clueless. He proceeds to say, we are getting a divorce, and in a month, I'm moving 5 states away. I've accepted a promotion and I'm moving. My entire body went numb. What? Is this for real? The wife stayed calm the entire time and just went along with it, but we found out later that he had never told her they were getting divorced and that most of this was news to her and he just dropped it on her in front of us. What a nightmare. After this, she basically let us know how different he is behind closed doors. She showed us all these complicated spreadsheets he would put together for her to do house chores. She's a lawyer. She worked a job, just like his corporate ass. It was really upsetting for my husband and I, because this was a couple that we identified with, and we were raising our kids together, and we found out that the husband was just a psychopath pretending to like all of us. Ultimately, they both moved. The husband and the wife are both remarried and the wife is doing fantastic and married someone she knew from high school and they have a pretty fabulous life and the dad of the now teenager is basically a deadbeat but sends the money. My cat. He was a neighborhood stray that started following us home during walks with our dog. Soon he started letting himself into the house when we'd come in from our walks, then spending the night. Then he started hanging out during the day and eating here, but still leaving whenever he pleased. Sometimes he'd leave for a day or 2, but it still felt like he was here most of the time. One day he shows up injured. We took him to the shelter in case he was chipped. When we first met him, he had a flea collar on him. If he wasn't, we planned to formally adopt him. During the in-between weeks, when the shelter healed him up and held him in case his original humans claimed him, the neighbors from across the street reached out to us. Their daughter was sad because they hadn't seen him in a long time. It turns out he was two-timing us. He was also letting himself into their house, eating there, and sleeping there. They also never fully took him in because they also thought he belonged to someone else. No one claimed him, so a few weeks later we formally adopted him. We now have joint custody with the neighbors, and he's a 2-household cat with supervised outdoor time, so that he doesn't show up with more surprise injuries. He has double the humans and double the dogs to bully. Can't imagine how a double life could have turned out better. My aunt did 23andMe. And that's how we all found out about the second family my late grandpa had and abandoned in the 1960s. Turns out I have 2 extra uncles. My mom's family moved to the other side of the United States in the late 1960s. My mom now believes that they moved because my grandma found out about my grandpa's mistress. My grandpa always doted on me and his other grandchildren from the kids he had in wedlock. It's been hard to wrap my head around the fact that he straight up abandoned 2 of his kids and might even have grandchildren that he never met. Found out that a successful man at my kid's private school actually had another family at the same school. Original wife apparently never knew. Kids found out when their mom accidentally died in her garage. He married the other woman a few weeks later. In college, I had been dating a dude for several years. He had a sister who was an overnight nurse with a live-in boyfriend. Live-in boyfriend managed a large grocery store. I met up with a friend for lunch one day, whose mom and her happened to work at the same grocery store in management. I said, "Oh, she must know John, my man's sister's live-in boyfriend." She said, "No, there is only one John, and he's dating another manager at the store. They've been dating for several years." Well, turns out it was the same John. He was able to get away with it because of the overnight nurse aspect. Never invited her to company outings or holiday parties. Wouldn't be her friend on Facebook. Hindsight. But pretty crazy to be the one to navigate breaking that secret wide open. Did you tell the sister? Yes. I was encouraged to be a part of the entire family dinner that included the disclosure. It really felt like an intervention. I didn't want to be. I was young and obedient. Oddly, the mom of my then boyfriend was rumored to be having a long-term affair with someone she worked under, so during dinner both her and the dad basically said they'll never bring it up again and pretend everything is fine if her decision was to stay with the guy. Thankfully she wasn't an idiot and kicked him out, but I was questioning the reality I was in during that uncomfortable conversation. Oh. And the double life grocery manager boyfriend, John, somehow talked the other woman into staying with him. My friend and her mom told her everything. She was shocked, but apparently forgave him at the time. Found out that someone within a friend group completely faked being a student at a relatively prestigious university in the area. Nobody had a clue. He basically came and hung out with people and pretended he attended classes. But actually he dropped out years ago and just pretended to be a student. He even pretended that he graduated and was at the graduation ceremony. My friend was married to a man who traveled a lot for work for several years of their marriage. One day she was watching the news that had a live broadcast of a wounded soldier returning to his fiancée of several years. It was my friend's husband. He wasn't in the military or wounded. And boy was he surprised that his future in-laws called the news station. He's in prison now. I don't know the details, but it had to do with defrauding the government. Only very recently, but my grandmother. Currently we are cleaning out my grandma and grandpa's house, as she passed away a few years ago, and he is now living in a home. While emptying out cupboards in their bedroom, my aunt and mother found a Ziploc bag of $6,000 in a handbag, and then $8,000 in a suitcase. There were also very detailed notebooks with people's names, money logs, and weights. We have no idea where the money came from, or why those details have been recorded. We can't ask my pops, cause unfortunately he barely remembers my mum some days, so it'll be a mystery in our family. A work friend of mine just casually mentioned to a few of us on a lunch break about how he travels to South America every few months, just to keep his wife there happy. He has a wife here, who he has brought to company events. I was like, and it was an extremely awkward moment after that. My mom is 86. We found a bunch of journals that she wrote in shorthand. In the late 1950s, she worked as a call girl in Las Vegas. Had an uncle, he was charming and clever. Thankfully, he never touched me, but my cousins did not find out until I got out of college. When he was finally caught, he was sent to prison in Alaska. All three of my cousins just slipped into such darkness that they fell into a meth crowd. Sometimes I wish I could see behind facades. Never knew who I was actually playing chutes and ladders with. I've told this story on here before, but I met a guy on Tumblr, back when it didn't suck, who was working in the area as a contractor for the army. We had a couple week-long fling. Good company, great sex. When he was headed back to upstate New York, I said thanks and wished him well. He insisted this wasn't a fling, we could make it work. I was hesitant, but said we'd try. Long story short, after he was gone, I got the feeling he was married and started digging, but couldn't find evidence of his existence at all. Red flag. Then one day a friend wanted me to reinstall Snapchat. When I did, it imported my phone contacts, including his. His username was a little different. I googled and up, he came on what was then ratemyex.com, which revealed his real name, and a mother load of info, including a military.com article. Not only was he still married, but that was his second wife, who he'd married, while still married to wife 1. He dropped wife 1 and their 4 kids off his military benefits too. Doctored divorce papers to marry wife number 2, and they now have 3 kids. Wife number 1 had to sue him through military court over the benefits and to get a real divorce. That's the military article I found. I messaged him to congratulate him on actually surprising me. I'd expected him to be married, but bigamy was a fun twist. No response. Shocker. I then posted about him on Tumblr as a warning. I was part of the kink community, which is smaller than it might seem. The fucker liked the post. Several other women messaged me that they'd either been involved with him, or at least messaged with him. I'm still friendly with one of them. On 2 different occasions now, I have dated women who told me after quite a while that they were cheating on someone else with me. I'm not sure what has made me attractive to people in relationships, and it's kind of troubling. There was always this mystery about my grandfather suddenly leaving medical school and coming back to his tiny rural town in Wisconsin. This was in the early 1900s. Even as a child, I was keenly aware of my grandfather's sense of loss from that. But no one ever knew why he left med school, came home, married my grandmother, and built a life. Long after he passed, my father found out. He had a half-brother in the state he'd had gone to school at. My grandfather got a girl pregnant and ran off in the early 1900s. I saw my high school English teacher out for dinner with my high school Spanish teacher. They were both married to other people. The next year they both had gotten divorced and then married each other, so they had the same last name. Oh, you have Wilson for English? Who's your Spanish teacher? Mrs. Wilson? Cool. I found out later that their respective spouses had also gotten together, but not married at that point, and the 4 of them went on group dinners. Years ago I worked for a major retail store. Girl got hired and was in her first month. Still going through new hire training. She was really nice. Then word got around that she was in some porn. That shit spread like wildfire throughout the staff. Everyone sending links to her vids. She ended up quitting. This was around 2009, and I still feel bad for her. A man messaged me and told me his fiancée and my boyfriend were on a secret trip away together under the guise of work. He'd become suspicious and read her emails. When that was uncovered, we both discovered they had a secret flat together. You could call it a double life. At work I'm this hardcore workaholic solving everyone's problems, managing teams, fixing every screw up, working like a horse. But on weekends and evenings, oh man, I turn into a completely useless indecisive blob who can't even figure out what to eat for dinner or what to watch. Honestly, I think my coworker should never see my weekend version of myself. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.